Hey, and good Monday morning. Miss Christmas checking in with you on today to bring you some Monday motivation and encouragement. And hopefully it'll help you get through your day and definitely your week, right? So we know yesterday everybody, for the most part, celebrated Mother's Day for mothers throughout the world, right? I think, or at least where it's recognized. Let's put it that way, because some places don't do it. But anyway, over the weekend, a word was kind of resounding in my spirit about mess, right? And not the way we probably are thinking, so not that. But you know how when speaking of Mother's Day, right, and being a mother, when your kids are little, they make messes, and some messes are really quick and easy to get up, and then some things require a little bit more work and more energy to go into it to get things cleaned up, right? So on one hand, you may simply just be picking up a few things and discarding it, throwing it away. And on another hand, you may actually have to get the broom and dustpan and sweep some things. You may have to get paper towel and cleaning solutions and all of that to spray things down and wipe things up and all of that. Saying all that to say this, right? How many of us can honestly say, and you don't have to comment or anything like that unless you simply just want to, and that's fine, that at some point in time we were a mess, that we made a mess of things. We made a mess of our time. We made a mess of our cleanliness. We made a mess of with our mouth, right? We made a mess, with different situations that we have allowed ourselves to succumb to, such as drinking and smoking, partying, different things like that. I'm sure many of us can relate and attest to being a mess at some point in time, right? But here's the thing. When you come into relationship with the Father, for all of my kingdom believers, and maybe you're not a believer yet, maybe you need to know how to get to that place, right? When you come into relationship with Him, the messiness that you see in yourself and that you think of yourself is no longer what He sees or what He thinks about you, right? And not to say that any of us look like a mess, and I'm sure many of us don't look like what we've been through. That's for sure. But God doesn't see that when you finally come to Him and when you finally get into a relationship and you finally get into His presence, right? He doesn't see that anymore, right? And so you have to get to a place where you no longer see yourself as being a mess and see yourself as being a message, right? Because this is what I went through and this is how I got through it. And here's what I'm doing now. And now you may be helping people who have went through substance abuse or being unorganized and messy, right? Or being messy, as some people say it nowadays, when people are like gossiping and doing all type of craziness that we shouldn't be doing. That maybe you're no longer doing those type of things. Maybe you're not that person anymore. And you can help somebody else who may be falling into that to not fall into it and to actually recognize it so that they can also be made clean and no longer be that mess and no longer be stuck in those type of ruts, right? So just wanted to let you know and remind you that you are the message and not the mess that you once were. Okay. Continue reading your word, continue trusting in God, continue living a repentant life. And should we have to repent every single day? Probably not, but things happen, things come up all the time. You know, the enemy is relentless, like he's forever on the prowl and the attack, mentally, physically, emotionally, even financially, right? And definitely spiritually, because he does not want you to come into relationship with the Lord. He does not want that. He wants you to stay in that rut. He wants you to stay a mess. He wants you to stay in a place and position where all you're doing is just like wallowing in the mess. Like how we see pigs, they like to wallow in the mud and the dirt and all that. Some people like to wallow in their mess as well. But for those of us who that's not your portion and that's not your story, God bless and good job, you know. But give yourself some grace from that and just know that you are the message and not the mess. If God has brought you out of it, if He has delivered you from it, if He has showed you how to get free from it, how to be cleaned from it, now it is your responsibility to also share that with someone else and help them in that same way. Okay? Because many of us are walking messages, walking testimonies, walking just inspiration for others, right? In so many different ways that is just mind blowing sometimes. But if you never see yourself as being that, if you only see the mess that you made, the mess that you used to be in, and all of that, you will never really be free from it the way you need to be. So see yourself as the message and not the mess. And you may find that it has been easier for you to talk to people about different things that you have went through, overcome your story, that whole 9 yards, right? You may find that it's easy to do that because you went through that mess already and you came out. And now you are shining bright like a diamond. You are actually, you know, looking amazing, on the outside. You don't look like what you've been through. So give yourself some grace in that area, because I also had to give myself grace in some areas of where once upon a time I was a mess and a rut and all these different things, because people see you, but sometimes they don't see you. Or sometimes when people do see you, they see what they think they see, and as far as the mess and the residue and all of that. Sometimes people only, or people who know you, let me put it that way, people who know you and been around when you were in your mess only still see the mess. They don't see the message. They don't see you free and delivered and brought out from those type of things. But don't allow that to keep you from seeing you the way that you should. All right. Know that you are the message and not the mess. All right. Have the most amazing day on purpose, because you get to choose how your day is going to go. If it's going to be wonderful, if it's going to be horrible, if you're going to smile, if you're going to frown, if you're going to be sweet and pleasant, if you're going to be mean and nasty, it's your choice. So have an amazing day, because I'm telling you, you can. And know that you got this. I'll talk to you later. Bye.